What's up guys, Brad here from Piney Grove, and today we're going to be doing something with our 44 by 55 mega shed. It's something we've been wanting to do for 4 years, and today is the day. So this is our mega shed. We built this in 2020, 4 years ago, and what we should have done when we first built it was do what we're going to do today. We're going to cover all this interior metal with spray foam as a heat barrier, because that's the east wall, that's the south wall, and it gets very hot in here. But I've got to get all this stuff put in the hyson, in the bucket of the tractor or the trailer behind the Summit, and get it out of here so these guys can get to work. They're going to be here any minute and I'm not ready. Here's what it looks like now. We're going to be using closed cell spray foam, and hopefully we can get into the benefits of closed cell versus open cell and why we chose what we did for our mega shed. When we built this shop, we didn't have the money to spray foam it, and that was about 4 years ago, 3 or 4 years ago. And we'll talk about the price of today's job, but today's job is reduced in scope from the original one, but the price of spray foam has gone way up. But one suggestion that I have is, if you're going to build a shop and you know you're going to spray foam it, go ahead and budget that in the beginning so that you spray foam it when it's empty. That way you're not doing what I'm doing this morning, which is scrambling to empty it so they can spray foam. Because spray foam leaves a mess, and anything that's in there is going to get the drifting particles of spray foam on it. So we got to get everything out to protect it. One load down, 3 to go. This will be an easy move here. This and the zero turn and the excavator will be real easy. Just drive them out and store them somewhere for a couple days. We're getting there. This is our mini excavator that we call Precious. Looks like Precious is gonna have to spend the day outside, maybe even a night. Remember that movie Roadhouse with Patrick Swayze? Nobody puts baby in the corner. Nobody puts Precious outside. All right, we're down to the last things here, and the guys still aren't here yet, so that makes me feel good. They don't have to wait for me. So let's back the Summit trailer in here, get the rest of the stuff in that, and then I think we're ready. They've got to be able to maneuver their scaffolding around, so the one thing they were concerned about was this pile of pallet racks here. So I'm hoping we don't have to move that. I've got to disconnect this sink so they can spray behind that wall. That is the south wall. That gets really warm. All this we'll cover with plastic. Here they come, let's go. It's all cleaned out. We got Mason here from Premier Insulation Plus in the Chipley, Bonifay, Florida area, and he is taping off my outlets. He's got a couple of his workers in there, and they are taping off inside of there. They're gonna spray foam that first while Mason gets this ready out here. So in order to get an even spray against that wall, we remove the sink, but Mason's actually gonna spray around the toilet because we're gonna sheathe inside there and it won't matter. And then on this wall, because it's the south wall, we're gonna do 2 inches of spray foam, and we're actually going to foam on the outside of this 2 1/4 metal square tubing, and that way we won't get radiant heat through that wall. And for a building like this, closed cell is the way you want to go, and that's because you can get more R value with less closed cell, and also closed cell acts as a water barrier, so you don't have to worry about condensation as much, because that's an issue here where there's humidity in Florida. The drawback to closed cell is it's more expensive. But to me, it makes a better look, and also it makes like a hard coating in here where you can still poke your finger through it, but not as easily as open cell. Open cell, you can real easily poke your finger through. We're gonna have shelves across that back wall. We don't wanna damage, say, open cell by putting stuff on the shelf. It hits the foam, and then it doesn't look good after that. It breaks that skin. So that's the north facing wall. We're not gonna spray that at all. We're trying to save some money here. That's the east facing wall, where the sun comes up. We're gonna do 1 inch there. The whole entire roof deck, we're gonna do 2 inches of foam. The back wall, which is the southern exposure, that gets so hot that if you put your hand on it in the middle of the day, it actually burn your hand. You can feel a little bit of heat coming through there already, and it's still early in the morning. And then inside that room there, we're gonna do the same thing as far as the roof deck and the exterior walls. We built this 12 by 24 room so that we would have a conditioned room that could be heated and cooled, and we could use it like as a place to maybe spend the night, or if there's anything we wanted to protect from humidity or temperature. And we actually wired it up for an oven. We wired it up for a fridge, and we also wired it up for a mini split to keep it cooled. But things have changed here on the homestead with the passing of my father, so we no longer need that room to be conditioned. So we're actually going to remove this wall, remove the electrical, so this will be open in here, and we can have more storage for our zero turn and our side-by-side. And this is that interior wall I was talking about that we're going to remove. We actually wood framed it to put OSB or sheathing on it, but we're just going to scrap all of that. And the guys are protecting the floor because we're going to enamel the floor. And like I said earlier, 2 inches on the roof deck, 2 inches on the south exposure, and then this is the west exposure. We'll do 1 inch over there. We're about to start spraying the little room there. Mason was spraying open cell foam yesterday, and he's spraying closed cell for me. And one part of the mixture, the polyurethane, that stays the same, but the other part is different. It's a 2-part foam that mixes inside of the spray gun. So he's cleaning that right now, and then he's going to go in the little room and spray that first. I won't be able to be in there with him because of the fumes and also the overspray, but when he sprays the big portion of the shed, I'll be able to capture a lot more of that. They've got it all taped off in there. It's ready to go. Once he's done in there, we'll go in there and look at the finished work. We're not going to spray this little west wall right here, but we are going to spray the roof. So they're going to tape off right underneath that white trim so that that has a nice clean foam line. And then they're going to cover all of this so that when they're spraying the roof deck, we don't get spray foam on the roll-up doors. And while Mason is spraying the little room, the guys will get in here and tape off everything in this big room, and then we can really get to spraying. He's checking to see if he's got his mixture right. He's saying that should be hard already, and it's a little tacky, so he has to adjust his mixture. So Mason's been working on getting the spray gun dialed in. You saw where he sprayed on the floor, and he was trying to get all the air out of the lines and also make sure he had the right mixture, and it was a little tacky, but he finally got it right, and now we're spraying inside the little room while the rest of the guys are out here prepping. And what they do is they put cardboard up there and spray over top of the cardboard, but the cardboard keeps the foam from going up over that eave right there, or that gap. Because if you don't put a barrier there, foam will go there and you actually see foam on the outside of the building. You've got the back wall done, and that's the test wall, and that'll get sheathed with OSB, so we don't care if we don't get the foam perfect there, but it'll foam up there, then it'll foam this wall, and again, that wall is framed for OSB, sheathing, and so is this wall, but this wall doesn't get foamed. You can see the cardboard barriers up there as well. I've got a mask on, but I don't have a respirator. So it goes on like a liquid, and you see it starts to expand right away. And he's using that tool there to see if he's got 2 inches of foam. Puts the first layer on, then he puts the second layer on, and then he uses that tool to make sure he has 2 inches on that south wall. And this wall gets 1 inch. And the roof deck gets 2 inches. Things that he's looking out for are things like this right here, where you have the corrugation of the tin, and you don't get enough foam in there to get your 2 inches. So he sprays a little and then checks it out. See the corrugation line up there? Right there you saw the foam come out over top of that rafter and spray out this way. We'll capture more of the spray foaming when he does this big area here, but I want to show you why that cardboard is up there. So that cardboard covers that area so the foam doesn't go in there, and I asked him, you know, why can't we just let it go in there and fill that out? And all of those little corrugations go to the outside, and we'll go outside and look at them. So I'll back up so you can see those corrugations, and he says if foam gets in those corrugations from the inside, you actually get foam sticking out on the outside of your building, and then he would have to go through and cut all that out, and it wouldn't look good. So that's why he's got those baffles in there to keep that from happening. So these were the piles where he was getting his gun dialed in, and we talked about closed cell versus open cell foam, and we talked about how the outer shell is real hard on closed cell foam. So as he got his gun dialed in here, and this piece is Probably not perfect, but it's pretty close. But if this is on the wall, you can barely push through that. And that's the skin or the texture that I wanted on the wall. If this was open cell, you could dent that easily. And if you're not going to sheathe your shop, like we're not on the back wall, then you could end up potentially just putting a bunch of holes in it. And also open cell is not a water barrier. But that's a good example of the skin texture that I was looking for to have on the inside of the shop. It's not even leaving a mark where he got the gun dialed in right here. And when I say the gun dialed in, I mean the mixture and the ratio, because you have the two parts coming through the two hoses to the gun, and that's where it mixes with air. And once you got that ratio right, you get that really tough skin with the closed cell. He's working his way down the roof deck. I don't have any kind of mask or anything on, so I'm gonna stay out of there. We're on day 2 here of the spray foaming of the mega shed. It's morning, it's about 8 in the morning. We've got the east sun coming up over there, and it's totally solar loading this side of the building. Like, it's hot to the touch right here on the outside, and on the inside you can feel that heat coming through. And in the little room that they did yesterday, there is like absolutely no heat transfer in that room. Closed cell spray foam is fairly expensive, and we'll get into that later into the video for the price of this job, but the benefits are incredible. I was in that room that they sprayed yesterday this morning, just kind of looking around, and the structural integrity of the wall is greatly increased. And by that I mean, in that corner there where that room is, before you could push on the wall and it would flex because it's just thin tin or sheet metal. But now that wall is almost like a stick-built wall. It doesn't move or flex at all. So we're still somewhat shaded on the south wall, so we're not getting any solar loading yet. This is still a little bit cool to the touch, but by about 10 or 11 o'clock, this whole south wall will be directly in the sun, and it'll stay like that the whole day until almost sunset. And as you get closer to this wall on the inside, you can be about 3 feet away and you can just feel how hot that wall is. And that's what we're going to spray today, and we're going to eliminate that. You're not going to feel any more heat coming through the wall because we're going to put 2 inches of spray foam on this side of the building. I'm going to show you what I mean about structural integrity, and this will be the before. But right now, this all flexes. And this building's been up for 4 years. We've had 60, 70 mile an hour winds. The building's rated for 140, I think. So none of this concerns me as far as the flexing, but we'll come back later and show you how rigid this wall gets. Let's go in the room that they've done and I'll show you what I mean. This is completely cured and there's just no flex. When I push on that wall, there's no flex at all. It's hard. It's you can't push through that. That's just fully cured, and none of this wall flexes. And I can come over here to where we didn't spray and it flexes a lot. Like, it's cool in this room right now, and I know the sun is on the other side of the building, but this room actually feels somewhat conditioned because it cooled overnight, and it'll take a long time for the sun to get over here and warm up this room. It's going to be very interesting to check out this room this afternoon after the sun has been over top of it and also setting on the west side. But I feel like it's not going to change in temperature very much. I've been trying to stay out of Mason's way here while he sprays, but he's got this east wall done up to the 8-foot mark, and that's 1 inch of closed cell spray foam all the way down there. He'll come back with a scaffold and get above the 8 foot and start working the roof deck. But he's got this whole east wall done down to the bathroom. And the bathroom's back there in the corner, and he started on this big wall here, which is the south wall. So again, that's 1 inch on the east wall. We're putting 2 inches on the south wall. And then once he gets that done, then we'll basically have just the roof deck to do. On this side, they've got that colored tin all masked off. They put injected a little bit of foam in the corrugations up there, and that'll keep the spray foam from pushing out to the outside of the building. We're not foaming this wall, but he covered all of the roll-up doors. So it's coming along, making a lot of progress. Can't wait until this wall is done. That is the heat wall. And over here, we got a lot of solar loading. The sun is up, it's about noonish, and that won't burn your hand, but it's pretty hot. If we come over here to where the foam is cooled off, it's basically cool to the touch. There's no solar loading, there's no heat transferring inside of the building, and that's exactly what we wanted. to stop that heat from coming in here. Trying to spray around that light there, and you see where he sprayed a little bit and then let it expand and used his little marker gauge to make sure he's getting the 2 inches. I just told Mason that it feels like it's cooler in here, and we're not even close to done yet on the roof deck or the south wall. It just feels nicer in here. I want to talk a little bit about cost. And I'm always hesitant to talk about cost because it's so regional, and also because a video can live for many years, and I could quote a cost today and you see this 5 years from now and it doesn't make sense. But it's 2024, it's post-pandemic, and we'll start with the original cost to do this mega shed. Now, when I first had it scoped and costed out, I would say about 2022, maybe 2021. It was pre-pandemic. We were gonna go thicker with all the foam, and I think the total was right around $6,300. But I didn't do it at the time. I wasn't ready to do it. So then the pandemic hit, and we also had those Texas fires, and the price of petroleum and the price of plastic shot up. So we had a labor issue, and then we also had a plastic material issue. So I checked back with the same guy that was $6,300, and he said the same job was over $10,000. I didn't change anything. I didn't add, remove anything to the scope. Same exact pictures, same exact building. So we've been going back and forth for several months or 6 months or so, but I just kept reducing the amount of foam because labor is pretty consistent now. So he came in and he got me down to around 9,000, I think, 8,900. And then I got a hold of Mason, told Mason what I wanted to do, and he quoted me $7,100. Now that's gonna go down a little bit because I de-scoped because of the way we're gonna use the 12 by 24 interior room. That's what we're looking at to do a building this size, 2 inches on the ceiling, which ultimately, if you want it to be cool to the touch when it's 100 degrees out, you probably should do 3 inches. We're in Florida, get a lot of solar loading, but I only went 2 inches, again, trying to save money. The east wall is 1 inch, should have went 2 inches on that, but I figured I was gonna get heat reduction, solar loading reduction, and I'm not trying to heat and cool this place. And we're not gonna be working here in the summer. We're gonna be storing our equipment in here. We'll have a workshop in here, but if we're gonna be working in here, we're gonna have to have fans blowing because I'm sitting here talking to you, not really doing anything else, and I'm sweating. But you can definitely tell on the walls that have been exposed to the sun that it's reducing the amount of heat that comes through. But that's the pricing for the spring of 2024. We'll check back in with the boys when they got a little bit more done and then get you guys caught up. It's time for the big reveal, but before we get to that, I'd like to give a big shout out to Mason and his crew from Premier Insulation Plus. They service the northern Florida area. They left this job, just left it on a Saturday afternoon to go look at a job in Panama City. So if you're in the Panama City, Bonifay, Chipley area, Lower Georgia, Lower Alabama, give them a call. I'll put their information down below. They do a good job. They stick with it. We had some complications here, some of them due to me, and they came here on a Saturday to finish up so that we could get done here at Piney Grove. But we couldn't be more pleased with the job. Let's show you what they did and then talk about the benefits of the spray foam and then talk about the next step for the mega shed. We've covered the differences between closed cell and open cell throughout this video, but I wanted to mention something I don't think that we mentioned, and that's that closed cell foam will not give you the sound deadening qualities that open cell will. So there might be some echoes, and that's kind of a quality of closed cell foam. But this is the 12 by 24 area. This wall is an interior wall, so we didn't do it. And that wall is gonna get ripped out so that we can come in and out with equipment. I was talking to Mason about the sound deadening, and he said he can definitely tell a difference where people have used open cell versus closed cell for sound deadening. So if that's one of the qualities you're looking for, you probably don't want closed cell. I want to point out a few things before we close out this video. you'll see that that is completely closed off there, and that's where the roof line drops. And Mason really likes that, and he put cardboard baffles up there, and then the foam covers the cardboard baffles, and it's 100% airtight. But I told him that I'm not worried about airtight because this is a shop. So on this side, what we did is we did some in the can type of foam in the corrugations of the metal so that the spray foam didn't shoot out onto the side of the building on the outside. And then here, rather than baffles, he said when he shot the top and he shot the bottom, the foam almost connected. So he went ahead and just completely sealed that there. But those are things you can work with your installer on. You may not like the cardboard baffles, you may want the baffles. If you want 100% airtight and you're gonna heat it and cool it, then you want it more like this side. But all I really care about is the solar loading, and I preferred not to have the baffles, so that's what we did over on this other side. Now, as far as quality of the spray or the consistent pattern, you can tell when the mix is different. It's a little yellow there, it's a little white up there. Now it's completely cured, it's not off-gassing, there's no smell at all in here. But I asked Mason, like, what did he think was his best spray pattern? And he said he liked the way that wall came out, but because we have things like metal purlins and we had the light fixtures and all of the electrical in the electrical boxes, he didn't have like a big clean canvas to spray on. So he said what he looks for, or what he really liked in this building as far as spray patterns and how it came out, is this one area right here. He said he really liked the way that looked because it's very consistent. He got a very even coating, and that's 2 inches of spray foam up there. But you can see every one of the metal purlings causes the spray foam to kind of collect as he hits it from different angles. So the last thing we'll talk about before we close out the video is on this particular roll up, and also the one on the far end, they're both the same size. You can see there's not a lot of space between the top of the roll up and the roof deck, and he couldn't get 2 inches of spray foam there. And he didn't like that he couldn't make that all uniform. And I didn't really think about it, but when the door is rolled up, the door is bigger because the door is rolled up on the drum. And when the door is down like it is now, it's smaller. So I was thinking, hey man, just spray it when the door is down and you'll have room to get your spray gun up there. He said, but then you won't be able to get your door back up. So those are things to think about when you're spray foaming. If you're looking for that absolute perfection in, you know, your 2 inches everywhere, there may be areas you'll have to compromise on. I told him he could skip that area completely and not put any foam there, but he wanted to put something there so that we weren't getting any heat from the roof deck down into the building. It took us 4 years to get to this point, but this shed is not done yet. So stay tuned to the channel because we'll be doing a lot more in here as we get this shed to the dream shed that I envisioned it 4 years ago. But that's all we got for you guys today. We sure appreciate you watching. We'll put a couple links up here to a couple of our other videos, but until next time, take care out there.